So hundreds of Florida nursing homes don't meet the requirement ahead of the Dorian hurricane that is coming to taking care. I mean, it's that hurricane is coming through the basically the entire East Coast, like as far up as like North Carolina, right? The only reason I decided to do this story is because it's a follow-up story to the story about the four nurses, the four healthcare providers from the Florida nursing facility that is getting charged with manslaughter after the Irma hurricane about a few years, in 2018. So after that hurricane, we had patients die in a nursing facility because the hurricane caused a power outage. So then Florida decided to tighten up its rules and regulations and making sure all of these nursing facilities, all of these healthcare facilities had a backup generator. So if any of those facilities lost power, patients wouldn't die of overheating, patients wouldn't die of dehydration. So a little more details here before we get into how we feel. Hundreds of the state's elder care facilities still don't meet all of the requirements for these emergency power plants under the state law. Instead, many sites are still asking for more time to get their backup power and fuel in order. I don't know if this is something that you can ask. I don't think you should be able to ask for more time, Tina.
Well, I don't really understand that. Asking for more time before what? Before they get fined? Before they get shut down? Before a hurricane comes through and someone dies? I don't. What are we waiting for?
That's the thing. That's the number one issue here. We can't ask the hurricane, slow down.
Mm-mm.
A couple, 2-3 of these facilities needs more time. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that that's the situation. I understand that there could be some hiccups and it could be a little difficult to try to get to meet all these regulations before the actual hurricane comes to hit, but they must have had some deadline set, and it's been a couple of years. So between August 2018 and August 2019, almost 300 facilities have been fined for failing to follow all of the regulations that are now set. And like I said, those regulations are that you need a backup generator to make sure that you have power in case of a power outage, right? The state's more than 3,700 nursing homes and assisted living facilities are now required to have the capability to keep indoor temperatures from going above 81 degrees for at least 96 hours after a power outage. And then that's when the big guns, federal government or the state government, can come in and help if necessary. But a lot of these places still do not even have a backup generator. Forget about 96 hours. They don't have 1 hour of time post a hurricane or a power outage. Tina, have you ever worked in an assisted living? Have you ever worked in a nursing home? Do you know what those facilities are like?
In nursing school, I was a sitter for a woman who was a resident at an assisted living facility. So I didn't work for the nursing home, or the facility, but I stayed there.
Oh, you stayed there.
Right.
Yeah. So for those people who don't know, and I think most people know what these nursing facilities and these assisted livings are like, but for those people who don't know, it's these patients, they don't have acute care needs. There are some nursing facilities where they have like a rehab section where they're more acute patients, but a lot of these patients are there for very long-term stays. I'm concerned the fact that all of these places don't already have a backup generator. I feel like in Massachusetts, I've never worked in a place where a backup generator wasn't part of the regulations of building or securing a license to have one of these facilities. I think it's absolutely insane that these facilities are functioning and running and have business and have patients in them, even though they don't have a backup generator, being in Hurricane City, hurricane area, Florida.
Well, I agree. And back in 2005, Hurricane Katrina came through. I remember there being a nursing home through that. I want to say that there were 34 people, I think, died in a nursing home because they drowned.
See, yeah,
and that was in 2005, and that's what's frustrating to me about this. This is not something that. This is something that you should be aware of if you live in the area. And I know that what happened in that area is the people who owned the facility chose to let them stay there, and they didn't evacuate them. And then the levees broke in New Orleans and it flooded. and
Exactly.
then they drown. So they were acquitted because I guess the determination was that they didn't know the levees were going to break, and also the governor didn't declare mandatory evacuation. But my thing is, this has been going on long enough that if you choose to run and own operate a facility, willing and able to do whatever it takes to keep these people safe.
Exactly. No, I mean, that's 100%. Like, that's my frustration with all of this. It's like, to know that all of these places are functioning and are given licenses and are okay running businesses to take care of human beings. I mean, that's your job, right? And all of them, all of these places don't have backup generators, aren't prepared for storms, aren't prepared for hurricanes. It's ridiculous. But I know I'm being super negative, but you guys got to look at the bright side, because the vast majority of these facilities are taken care of. But even having one that isn't is one too many. But let me let y'all know before we move on to the next story. So when looking at both nursing homes and assisted living facilities, state officials say that 96% have either a permanent or a temporary generator, plans to get a temporary generator delivered, or a full evacuation plan in case of power outage. So 96% of these facilities are ready to go, right? So if you're living down in Florida, if you have some parents down in Florida, if you have anyone that you love down in Florida in a nursing home and assisted living, the 96% is taken care of. But the rest, that 4%, is still 4%, way too many. Let's cross our fingers. I did just see most recent news that the Dorian has moved from a hurricane level 3 to a 2. I don't know what those numbers mean, but I know less is better. So let's hope that the hurricane isn't too bad. Let's hope that everyone is still safe. And for the 4% of facilities that aren't taken care of, let's hope to God that they don't get flooded, that there is no power outage, so those patients are all safe.
I agree.
Yes. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate this. If you guys were informed or educated in any way, shape, or form by these stories, please hit that like button. If you liked my presentation of the news, I really suggest you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know every time Q the Nurse drops some hot, fresh press news. Thank you. Catch you next week. Deuces.